my computer. Bob, it's all yours.
All right. 9 o'clock. We have 1 hour, 60 minutes to go over this, to dive into this session. And I'll tell you that this is one of my favorite topics. If I had my choice, I would discard everything else in my work inbox and everything else, and I would just focus on reporting and answering reporting questions. I love talking about reporting, diving into spreadsheets, and trying to make things balance. And I expect many of you are in this role. You enjoy spreadsheets too, and at least looking at reports. So let's get started. I'll share my screen here with my PowerPoint. Hold on. Here we go. All right, can you see that? Oh, that's going all crazy. Okay, today we're going to talk about, first of all, so this is the Workday financial reporting session. So this session came out of Jesse's September 14th Workday reporting overview. So the idea was to expand on that topic and look in that in a little more detail for some other things too. So today we're going to review what the reconciliation guidelines are for the university, because there are some guidelines out there. We're going to review the reports shown in that Workday overview session. And then I want to start with, where do we start? Like, say if you haven't started reconciling yet this year, start with how to find where your December balances are, ending balance in Workday on your different funds. And then we'll go into some Workday financial. Hopefully, Cindy Kratzer, if you're here and ready, we can go over what you do on a monthly basis for your monthly reconciliation, and then dive into what other questions you have about Workday financials. And the hope is to, well, the expectation is here in the latter half of this session is to go over a demo of pulling a Workday report and using a pivot table and do some formatting in Excel spreadsheet, and then keep answering questions from there. So let's get started. So here are the university reconciliation. I need to share my other screen.
So as everyone comes up with questions, just put it into the chat box so that we'll have record of it. And then if there are any questions that don't get answered, we'll be able to come back to those even after the meeting.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we'll definitely start asking those questions. So I'm trying to copy and paste this in the chat, but I'm having trouble with it. So the university, the business and finance shared financial reconciliation guidelines. So this, what you're seeing now should be the share of the business and finance page. So Marianne, can you see that okay?
Yes,
Okay, great. So this gives you, I'm not going to go through this because we don't have time to look through this. So basically, if you want to go to a resource to say, okay, what am I supposed to be looking at each month from the university? This is it. Talks about reconciliation on this tab here. And it gives you a couple reports, but this is a little bit outdated in terms of what reports you can use, but it goes over what you should be looking at in terms of your monthly reconciliation, what to look at. So basically, it's not a line by line. I know people today are probably hoping to log into the session and say, okay, we're going to get a job aid that gives us the full list of all of the financial reports out there, what to run, when to run them, and we're not quite at that point yet. So we're starting from scratch here and learning it as we go. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, that's not working for me. So let's just do what we have here. Okay, so Let's talk about which reports Jesse talked about in his Workday Reports overview. So he started off with the equity balances by carry forward work tags. He looked at the managerial trial balance report. And then, well, I guess actually he started off with the fine journal line. So that gives you the line by line detail. So in my world, I'm thinking of equity balances by carry forward work tags is more of your quick equity look in. You're just looking at what's the equity in each of your work tags, and you can get a full list of work tags in those. And you can be as detailed or as targeted as you want in that. The managerial trial balances report is more of a look at the actual expenses in each either period or time frame that you run it in by the ledger account. So that's a good one to use for reconciliation right now if you want to dive into transactions by ledger report. And then the fine journal lines is the report that replaces the detail activity report. I call it the 91. So this is the only report that I found that gives you every single piece of information. So it gives you the journal number, the PO number, the supplier name and invoice. This is the only report that I've found that gives you the expense report. Even the sources and uses doesn't give you the expense report number, SA number, things like that. So that's the detail activity report. And Jesse also went over the sources and uses. This is a report that I use often, but from what I've found on the reports, the funds I've looked at, the county offices, that's not quite as helpful initially. So those are the reports. And again, it's a starting list. This is what we know now, and this will kind of evolve as we go. So where do I start? How do I confirm? Like, if you haven't started anything yet, reconciliation yet, you have not looked at your balances, where do you go to figure out this is what it was in PeopleSoft? Now, how do I find what the balance is in Workday? So we're going to start off with an example. This is going to be Ross County, and we're going to confirm the commissioner fund balance from the 61. So here I have, let's see, let me pull this 61 report over. Okay, so I'm looking at the December month end, fiscal year 2021, 61 summary report. So we're looking at the Ross County Commissioner. So we want to make sure that this balance, 397, 615.80 as a starting point, because this is where the cash balance of the old system ended, e-reports ended. We want to make sure that that's the correct amount, and that so we can start reconciling for months going forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the managerial trial balance. Use the organization of CC, it was 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Ross County Cost Center. Ledger's actuals, period. We're going to change that to fiscal year 2021. And we want to go, we can actually do all the way. Let's just look at all 6 months from, so that'd be from January through June. So I'm going to check the period of FY 2021, June. We'll do current period year to date for now. And then work tags, we're going to look at just the fund. So we're going to keep this kind of basic as we start. FD 523. Do not touch that checkbox. And then let's go here. Well, it's actually that, and that does not match 392, 975, 29. did when I looked at it this morning. Let's figure it out. Let's look at it and make sure my periods are right. Nope. Okay, let's go back to. Where did my 61 just go? Here we go. 397, 615, 80. So let's just go back and look at the period of January to begin with. FY 2021. January. All right, let's go back.
When I ran it, Bob, I would do it for current period.
Oh, that's
only.
right.
That's what I was just about to
Like, wait a minute,
say.
what's going on here?
Yeah, because the year-to-date one gives you
Yep.
a different amount.
So here we go. So we're looking at cash. So go to that cash ledger account. You can see 397, 615, 80. So from there, so we're looking at just January, and the debits are the expenses for this period. So what I look at on this report, say, okay, so I know that the cash balance is 397, 615, 80. That's the right one that should have came into Workday in that fund. So that's where we start. And then you can start going into these different ledger accounts here. And let's say you're looking at just making sure that you're starting out with operating. So you want to make sure that the debits are the expenses that you expected to come out of this. So this $99 is supplies expense for January. So each month you can go into this and you can actually click on this here. And so this is just one expense, but you can go in and do some manipulating to this table itself. I like to do spend category. Let's just do that. So here you can see that under the supplies, if there were more than just office supplies, you would see them here in this table, and you can see that $99 was spent. And then you can go more and dive into that certain transaction and see it's for office supplies, not paper, but you don't get the expense report or requisition number. So yeah, so we know it's an expense report, but we do not get that expense report on this detail. So what I would do, say if I'm just reconciling January, just making sure that these expenses are correct, I would go do a find journal lines report from there. So Marianne, since we were looking at this together last week, what other take-home comments would you say on this managerial trial balance when you're starting from, you know, I got my December ending balance and I need to start reconciling from there?
From that point, going in and clicking on, and you can click on debit or credit. So if there were credits showing, say in the supplies column, if you click on either the number in debit or credit, it's going to show everything for that line. So you don't have to click on one and then turn around and click on the credit.
Yeah. You can click on this and it'll give you the debit and the credit.
Correct. It's going
Yeah.
to give you everything for that line, no matter which number you click on.
Yeah.
But then, as you say, unfortunately, you have to go to yet another report. if you have further questions. And that's that fine journal lines.
What you could do also here on this button, some people call it the lollipops button. It's, you know, the change selection button is. So we're looking at just January, but you can actually run, and this should work this time, run the time period of, so we're looking at January through June. Let's see, how did I do that? I think it was last 6 periods. I got to work this morning at 7 o'clock. Oh, I have to change that to June as well. So let's pretend that we don't want to look month by month. We want to look from January through June. So let's see if we can get that 397, 615, 80 number to start with. Yeah, here we go. So that's the same beginning balance. So that's your January beginning balance. And then this debit amount field now includes January through June, so through the end of the fiscal year. So that way you can start with, let's reconcile January through June of fiscal year 2021, and then you can start with July of fiscal year 2022, since that's how the fiscal year is how this beginning balance is derived. So that is a quick overview of how to look at the beginning balance of your funds from Workday.
And let them know at 41350 is where we put the county commissioner fund. So if they're always looking for the county commissioner fund, that's where that goes. Just a FYI.
Yeah. And you can dive into this a little bit more, like you can make this a little more restrictive and do your budget structure as operating budget. Operating will remove, unfortunately, it removes cash and equity, but if you put in budget structure of operating budget, it removes the cash, equity, those lines. It just focuses on the income and expense account. So if you just want to look at the specific ledger accounts, the income and then expenses, you start from there. It's already 9:18, and so I'm going to stop share from there. We'll see if we can answer questions quickly.
It looks like Suzanne has the question.
Yeah, what are the search parameters for just doing monthly reconciliation? So if we are doing the monthly reconciliation from the managerial trial balance, kind of a lot to say there. So what you do is you can do it current period. So if we're looking at, so we want to just look at the time period of June 2021, we take this time period and we just take that down to the current period. Let's remove the operating budget just so we can see all of the ledger accounts. So current period means, let's make sure that worked. Here we go. Current period means that we're just looking at the Commissioner Fund in Ross County for just June of 2021.
See, that's the part that always gets me mixed up, are those parameters. And I have to like put it in like 5 different times to get what I think I'm getting. And then I get partway through and I'm like, okay, that's not it either. It gets frustrating. So I guess that's because before with PeopleSoft, it was, you could search just calendar months and that was the easiest part of it. And this, when you're searching the fiscal, so you're looking fiscal, but then you're trying to drill it down to just one specific month. That's where I end up getting confused.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't dove into this report specifically too much, especially on the calendar year. So it's kind of more to come as we learn that, and whomever is out there that knows this report really well can kind of help teach us about it. But with that, before I move on, I just want to mention that when you do find something that works, make sure that you create a filter for it. So when you say, okay, this is my monthly filter. You save that. Then you can just pull that up, and then change the time period as you need to. So make sure you create filters so you can use them for each fund, each month, things like that.
So then using that same functionality, then if I wanted to get July of 2021, what would be that filter then? Would that be FY2, 2022, and then go
Yeah.
12 July current period?
Nope. So we'll go to, it's weird. That is not working. That is not supposed to say company. Well, yes, you go to July 2022, and then you could do this current time period, and that will, I don't know why that's not working, but the current, let's see if it pulls in. Nope, companies, that's broken. So I have to get out of that. But anyway, yeah, you would just go change your period and then keep using current period for just to look at that month. All right, so I'd love to look at an example of a county that does it monthly. Cindy Kratz, are you on the call? Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Come on up. The price is right. That show's still on? I wouldn't know. All right, Cindy, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and talk about what you do on a monthly basis to reconcile your reports, just an overview. And I know you created a nice step-by-step PowerPoint, which we could also share.
Okay. Okay. Do you have that? I got to bring mine up if you don't.
The PowerPoint?
Yes,
Yes, I do. Let me
thank
share
you.
that. Hold on. All right, let's see if I can actually start the slideshow this time on this screen. It was giving me problems. No.
Cindy, I made you co-host. That was my fault. I didn't do that before.
Oh, that's
But you're
okay.
Co-host now.
That's okay. Hang on just a second. Oh, there we go. Okay.
All right, can you see this slideshow?
Yes, it's up.
All right, so
All right. So my name is Cindy Kratzer. I work on the office associate in Brown County. And this is my way of doing reconciling Workday. Might not be the right way, but it's the right way for me. Maybe not for everyone, but how I do it, what I do first, I want to look at my balances. You can go either way. There, I got a part 1 and part 2 here. But I look under equity balance by cost center and fund group. So you search for that, and then this screen will come up. And some of these, I think the the first one, the company name, I think it automatically fills in, but of course you need to put your cost center a number in. You go down for your period, depending on the period you want. In this case, I reconciled for September of this fiscal year, 2022. And I just picked out a couple of my fund numbers. We have like 5, 6, whatever. For this demonstration, I just picked out 2. So you want to list all your fund numbers in this under work tags, and that, or you can do one by one. I just do them all. So because you want to find your balances, and you'll see why. And again, Bob talked about the filter, and that's nice too, because all you have to do, everything is filled in, except you got to update your, like, to October when it gets to that point. So those are little things. So on the next screen, this is what will show. It will give you, it will talk about you'll see where it says cost center. And then across from that, under equity, it'll have equity encumbrance, and then equity after encumbrance. When you go over to the after encumbrance, when you click on that little arrow, down arrow beside the amount, this box will show. And what I usually choose is the fund. So the next step would be I choose PDF. I don't Excel. It's too much in Excel because it spreads it out. But you'll see here. And once you choose PDF, you want to download it. So once you download it, it will, this is the report you will get. And it lists, now it rounds it up, rounds it down, whichever. Anything I think under 50 cents, it'll round down, and again, or round up if it's more than 50. So these will give you, you'll see those 2 funds that I was searching for. Those are the balances. And that is what those balance, like the FD 111, that's what your goal is, to get your reports to balance for that month of September with that amount. So that's where, and I print this off. It's just easier for me to read. If it was in Excel, you'd have this big long sheet of paper that you really don't need all that, I don't think. But anyway, so the next step would be to, this is where I go in and reconcile my funds. So what we do, when I pull up the general ledger balance. I search for that, and then I click on that. So then when that comes up on the left, you'll see it's the blank, you have to fill in, you have to fill that in. To the right is where I have filled in, of course, the company name, it's actuals. I don't think you have to do the translation currency, but I do anyway. I put my period in, and of course the rule set, that's automatically there. So you don't want to change that. And then I go down, and down here where it's asking for work tags, you need your cost center number and your fund numbers. They all go in that work tags section there. Again, if you want to save a filter, then this is the time to do it. So then after that, it brings up, this is what it brings up, which is what we've just seen. But this one, a little bit different looking. So it gives you your everything that happened in those 2 funds in the last, well, I'm thinking it since July. I haven't found a way to just do a like September 1st through September 30th. It just goes all the way back to your beginning of your fiscal year. Maybe it's out there, I just haven't found it yet. So in this section here, you'll see under activity, there's some activity under like net payroll, and then also under, let me see, that is approved, I believe, approved salaries. You'll see some of these, and go on down, there's another small one for sales and service, and another one, investment income. So, and what you do, so the next screen, I'm showing what you need to do. You, like there's one, what I picked out was this $43.50. So out beside the $43.50, there's a little down arrow, and you click on that amount. So, and then what happens is you click on that amount, And then it brings up this box and you want to view details. So after you view your details, this is the screen. And it shows you, of course, under journal source, that ad hoc, of course, you know that is a credit card transaction. It's under sales and service. It shows you your accounting date, when it hit, and then it shows you whether or not it's a debit or a credit. So in this case, that we have 2 credits. So I print that, you download that, you choose the PDF form and you download, and this is how the report looks. So the report, and it shows you your transaction, it shows you the accounting date, ledger account, and then also in their work tags, it tells you the fund, and it classifies it as a miscellaneous revenue, which is, it's a credit card. So, and it shows you whether it's a debit or a credit. I kind of like this report myself because I don't have to hunt. It's right there. It tells me whether it's a debit or if it's a credit. And so you don't have to hunt on an Excel spreadsheet what it is. Well, anyway, so then after that, you know that you have 2 credits. So after that, let's see what. So anyway, that's the basics of how I do it. And then you do that for each activity. You go on that amount, you click on it, and you download it as a P, and you use funds and you download it. And also what I do sometimes, if you have more than, okay, on this slide here, where under fund, you'll see there's your fund numbers. And you'll notice that about right there, go up a little bit, Bob, about midways where it says 510. It doesn't put them in fund number order, but what I have found that if before you print it out, go up to fund, you can actually, on the word fund, you can click on that, and that will automatically put those fund numbers in fund number order. So when it prints out, you'll have all your 511s, you'll have all your 523s, your 510, all those will be in order. So you don't have to kind of hunt and search if one shows up at the beginning and one fund shows up at the end. So, but it's how I have found that's easy for me. I understand it. So it might not, I don't know. I guess it's how anyone feels comfortable and how they do it. But I have been able to balance my last year's balance from January to June of 2021. And ever since that, I got that in balance, and then I've been doing it every month, and I've been able to keep my funds in balance. So it took me some time to figure it out. But I don't know if anybody else would have an easier way. If you can find an easier way, I'll try it. But for me, I've balanced my accounts, and I'm comfortable with how I'm doing it. So that's it.
That's great, Cindy. I could listen to that, for like hours, just keep going. That was good. I wish you were the one presenting the sessions back in December, because that made sense to me about how you do it. So learning these reports, there's different types of reports. And as you see, the managerial trial balance is a little bit different than the equity. So you get a little bit different information. And we're still trying to maybe make a matrix of what exactly each report is good at showing you. But I do really appreciate this example, Cindy, on how you do it month by month. Like you said, you use this report.
Thank you for letting me sharing that.
Yeah.
Can I ask another quick question? Cindy, that was awesome. That was totally great. I love that. Thank you for doing that. And yeah, I'm with all the other people that want a copy of that. I just have a quick question on the equity after encumbrance. When you started this, on the right-hand side, I was writing it and I missed it. Is there something in that drop-down list that you have to click on about encumbrances or not encumbrances?
No, you just have to, when you click on that arrow, and the thing of it is, and you just want, how can I explain this? You just have to, it's after encumbrance because, no, really not. You just have to, just under the activity. I mean, you already got your balances. You want to strive to get to your, balance with what, I use an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not sure what everybody else uses, but I've used Excel since I went back to 2016 and kept an Excel spreadsheet. And that's what I balance these accounts to. And I know there's other, there's some other programs people use, and I'm comfortable with Excel. So that's what I'm used to. Tell you what, let me just send, and I see that everybody likes the PowerPoint or would maybe benefit from it. So let me just send, I don't know if Vicki, can we somehow send that out as a, to all?
I will upload it in Teams for the support staff teams, Cindy.
Okay,
and
thank you.
therefore they can get it from there.
Okay.
Thank you
So-
so much.
I was going to
Um,
say, you might also send it to Shalice and she might be able to send it out to
Oh,
everybody in
yes.
the conference.
Okay, I could do that too, or Vicki, oh no, Vicki, do I do that? Do you do that? Will you do that? Or do you want me to do that? Or,
I'll do that too, Cindy.
okay, I
Thanks for
appreciate it.
sending that. Yep.
I'm not a very good presenter. I apologize. I am not comfortable presenting, but hopefully I made some sense. Anyway, hopefully if you, for some reason, if you get the PowerPoint and you're still having issues, feel free to instant message me or call me, or I'll be glad to help in any way. I do better when I have my PowerPoint up. I can see what I'm doing, and it's anyway. And I would like to put a plug in here. If your area has not already doing this, area 22, which is Adams, Brown, Highland, and Claremont, we do a Zoom every first Tuesday of the month. And last couple, Marianne, I can't remember how many weeks, couple weeks ago, we met in Highland County to work on this, to work on Workday. Marianne was gracious enough to attend that meeting. So she showed her way and I showed my way. So, we she had things I thought, oh, that's pretty neat. And I had things she thought was pretty neat. So, but I would encourage areas to, if you're not already doing it, to try and do a monthly Zoom with your other office associates. I'll use office associates since that's what I am. And we talk about everything. We talk about work, we talk about families, but it's just a nice way to keep that contact with your fellow workers in your area. So I would just want to put that out there.
Well, Cindy, thank you. That was really helpful. You're getting a lot of good feedback here. That idea that you plugged of meeting and talking about this is really helpful. And my thought is to focus another office hours on reporting and to turn this over to you and those that have a good handle on how you do reporting, either monthly, however you do your reconciliation, so that you all can share how this works, and maybe we can focus more on the support staff teams to give some more ideas on that. But again, this is just the start. I can't wait to see, say a year from now, how we can use these reports and what we learn about them for our reconciliation purposes. See, Vicki shared it in Teams. So it looks like we have a lot of feedback on this example, which is helpful. So it's 9:40 almost. And I did mention giving a Excel demo. So just scrolling through the chat as I talk here. I'm going to start doing an Excel demonstration, pulling a report from Workday. All right, so next up, all of you are maybe a little bit different on your Excel skills. Some might be way more advanced than I am. Some are just questioning, okay, how can I use Excel more? Maybe you're very familiar with pivot tables. You might be even doing X lookups like I know Debbie Lewis is, and can run circles around me. But I just wanted to just quickly pull a report here in Workday and show how I do a pivot table on it and format it. Just so when you start pulling these reports, like I find the find journal lines report helpful to actually look at transaction by transaction data when you can't get all that information on that equity balances report that Cindy just demonstrated. So I'm going to pull find journal lines, and because I am comfortable with community development, I'm going to do CD. So let's do period. So I'm going to look at July through September data. So, and just a note on this, if you haven't seen this before, what you do is you can click Control A on this and then click check. And you can check all the boxes and then you can uncheck certain ones. That way, if you are, say, running the report for most of the periods, you don't have to click each one. So let's just July, August, September. Okay, so periods July, August, and September. So we're going to go to ledger, actuals. We're going to go to book. I use common book. And then we want to start with our, we can scroll by that. We can go to work tags. We can go to CC 12008, community development. And then let's just look at, for the purposes of this report, let's just look at the miscellaneous fund, since most of you are familiar with FD 111. Oh, did I do posted on the status? Let's see if I did that right. Oh, are you going to work with me today? All right, so book ledger actuals. Let's go back here and adjust and make sure the status says posted. Because there's a lot of stuff that can come through and really mess up your reporting when you don't pull in that posted. So that's what I do. Okay. So let's get back to this. Wait on Workday. It's like going back to dial-up internet on Workday. Come on. Process. So before I download this information to Excel, once it pulls, I want to show you something on that I use on this report, or most Workday reports. Okay. So we can see our details. We can see the status is showing posted now. So what I do on this, so what you can do is you can actually look at, if you just are looking for a few certain pieces of information, you can actually look at this report in Workday directly without pulling the Excel. What you can do is use this box here, that column preferences, and you can pull up certain, say, columns and pull that, say, to the top, and Workday is going to be delayed again. So let's see if I can. So let's just say I want to look at just, okay, I want to look for certain spend categories. So I can pull that spend category up to the top. I usually can just pull it up to the top, but you can see here that you can move it up or move it down in the list. So that will move the spend category column more towards the left. So let's download this to Excel. All right, so find journal lines. Which screen will that appear on? I'm looking for it. Here we go. All right. Let's see if I can pull it over. Okay. So you should be seeing an Excel spreadsheet now. First thing I do is click Enable Editing. What I do after that is I highlight everything, and you see how this is wrap text is shown there. What I do is unwrap the text. That way everything just goes on one line. I find that the easiest way to make sure I can see all the data. So it kind of squeezes those lines together. You can also use this feature of like trying to shrink the row height. That's another way to do it. So I've got a lot of columns, as you can see here. So I want to do is I want to look at certain things. So the first thing I would do is say, let's say I want to look at a certain work tag. So I know this is Fund FD111, so it's the miscellaneous fund. So I'll do Insert Pivot Table. And let's just say that you have let's go down to all the different fields here. So what do I want to look at here? So it depends on what you want to look at is how you're gonna build this pivot table. Let's just see how many program guys. Okay, so I can see that there's data in 2 separate program values. So what I can do is I want to look at the transaction debit minus credit. So that is our amount that has been spent in each of these program values. Okay, cool. So we pulled July through September data. So I want to go up and pull the period. So I want to see the transactions per period. So I can see July, August, and September. So I put the period in the columns. So now you can see that in FD111, for these, you can see the data for these 2. Say if I'm just looking for the step mentor funds, I want to look at what is spent. You can just do this pivot table to pull in. So $183 was spent in August, and 147 was spent in September. And you say, well, I want to see a little bit more information. Well, I want to see how this was spent in terms of which spend category these expenses are in. So let's scroll, let's find in spend category as a work tag. All right, so that I'm going to pull underneath the program value. So it looks like it's for small grants, gift cards were purchased, and for step mentor funds, it was spent on mileage. So there you go. You get a little more detail into which type of spend category was spent. And let's see, okay, so I know that in FD111, so I'm using program values. What else am I using? Well, I could be using assignees. I won't be using grants too often, but I can use activities and events. So we can also look at, looks like there was no assignees used on here because I see blanks in all those columns, but so let's take that off. And you can also look at some different data as well. So let's just say that you know the spend category, you can just, and you want to look at, say, the supplier instead. You have suppliers that you're paying in certain funds, and you want to know how much did I pay to a certain supplier. You can pull the supplier, and looks like we have no PO payments in this funding source, so no data came up. But basically, you can move around this data, however, to make it display as you want. And another thing so this is helpful for me. So when I'm looking at certain reports, I can see, so I start with an equity balances, let's say, and then I can move into the fine journal lines to dive into more detail. So let's go back. Since supplier didn't bring me up anything, let's take that off. But we know that the expense report number does not come in some of those other reports we ran. So let's scroll up and find if it's in here. Is it the expense report? Let's find out which column. Oh, looks like the operational transaction for journal comes in. So the expense report comes in there. So we can look at the operational transaction for journal. And here we go. So now we have, for each program value, we have an expense report number, and then we can see the transactions for each of those ER numbers. For those of you that use assignees, so you can run this per each person by pulling in the assignees as the row labels. And then, so there's a lot of ways that you can play around with pivot tables. And then also another thing that you can do is that I did for the amount, I pulled in the expense, let me go back to this. The sum of the transaction debit minus credit. But you can also run let's say you want to see what a revenue to expense looks like. So you have all the, say, expenditures here, but you want to know if we just do the amount, like what is made up of the amount. So you have some revenue coming in for certain activities, and you have expenses coming in. So you want to see a report done by a certain work tag by revenue and expenses. So what you can do on your data is, I'm trying to do this on the fly. What I like to do is, and you can rely on, sometimes you can rely on, scroll over to the debit amount and the ledger, the credit amount, to get some of this data, but the debit amount and the credit amount don't always tell you which ledger or account you're using. So to me, these columns don't really help me out when I'm trying to run reports. So what I like to do is, let's see if I can do this on the fly real quick. Let's find the ledger. Account ID. All right, so ledger account ID. Oh, and here we can see that there's a lot of net payroll. And what we can actually do is that what Jesse did on his fine journal lines report in that work tag, or the Workday financial reporting overview, was he found the source. And what he did was actually eliminated the accrual detail, because that, since it credits out, the credit and the debit's offset when you go month by month on biweekly payroll. And you can listen to his Workday session if you want to get more on those accounts. You can just delete that out, just so you don't see that. And that goes back and brings in just payroll payments, expense reports, those other types of sources. Oh boy, we're coming up to time here. So I'll actually just stop there and see what kind of questions we have. I don't know what was going on in the chat. So any kind of just pivot table, looking at Excel in a basic report, what kind of questions do we have? All right, so no questions on that specifically. So maybe the pivot table demo didn't quite, not quite the focus of this one. There's I think just reconciling is more of the importance of this session. So I'm going to stop sharing my screens. It's 9:56. We're almost done with the session. Just let's open it up to general questions, comments. What do you want to see more of for office hours on this topic?
Bob, I have a question. This is Vicki Jenkins. I am so confused by all these reports because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I basically just am the P card manager. So I don't know, should I be running reports? I know that right now we are looking for one that has payroll. And I'm just totally lost because I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for.
Yeah, you brought up some different things here. So you're a P card manager. So are you looking for reports on P cards specifically?
Yeah, I get. I mean, I don't know. Am I supposed to be running reports for P cards? I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to be doing with any type of reports. But I do know right now we got an email where we are looking for payroll.
Okay. Yeah, payroll is something we didn't get to go over in this session, but it is certainly a hot topic. So what is, Vicki, what's your main concern with payroll? What are you looking for specifically?
Well, they're looking for, I guess for the Akron area. Let's see. They were looking for salaries for the FNEP and SNAP-Ed, which I have nothing to do with SNAP-Ed. So for Summit County, this is the one thing that, was the only thing so far that I've been requested of any type of, thing like that. So I don't have the first clue.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Send that email to me and whoever your fiscal support is in that area to get some more information, because we can go through payroll reports, but that's not really the focus of this session. But certainly reach out to us because we haven't had a payroll. So you're looking for salary information more or less, right?
Right, yes.
Total, or annual pay, yeah, by costing. Yeah, so we can, so send that email to me and again, your fiscal support for in the extension operations on the extension operations team. We can look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Eileen, your question about looking for the carry forward balance for FD23 to prepare the budget for fiscal year 2022. I've been copied or I've been sent certainly a handful of questions now about getting some information prepared for the FY22 or the calendar year, just the next budget for the commissioner's budget. And on Saturday, Jesse and I talked, he sent me some information, so some of the reports that he's ran. So I just need to look into that and then get back to the people that have asked me about, because there is a 3-year report that looks at the balances over a 3-year history, and then another report that he gave me.
All right, I'll stay tuned. Thank you.
Yeah. So Mary Ann, we probably can end the session in terms of the content. I can stay on for some other questions if that works.
Okay, I'll stop recording here.